Hello and welcome to Off the Page, a newsreel from Eureka, the bookstore for the young. I'm Sahar, here to give you news about new books in each age category. This is to showcase, without any spoilers, what's new so that you can make informed choices for your kids. And if you're a young adult, feel free to take your pick. As February is Black History Month, the books in this episode are primarily by Black authors about Black lives, the first of which is Antiracist Baby by Ibram X. Kendi and illustrations by Ashley Lukashevsky. Now, this book focuses on how anti-racist babies aren't just born, they're bred, and this is a spectacular way to normalize these kinds of conversations that are so important from very early on. It talks about how important it is to respect and appreciate each other's differences and how to go about making equity a reality. All About Diversity by Felicity Brooks and Mar Ferrero wonderfully talks about how we're all different, and instead of being intimidated, that can be a really exciting thing. It provides wonderful visual representation for how we all have different brains and different bodies and how they all come with different needs. It talks about neurodiversity in the classroom and discusses things like ADHD and autism as neither a positive or a negative thing, but rather as something that just makes us different. It talks about racism and sexism and how the world is a big place with many different types of cultures and many different types of people. Two Wealth Chantani by Ameya Narvankar is the story of Aisha as she prepares to attend her Ritu Didi's wedding, who's finally getting married to her girlfriend. And Aisha is really excited to put on her best clothes and dance in the barat, but not everybody is as happy for the couple as she is. Not all of her family members show up, and the barat ends up getting stopped, and Aisha has to step up to support her family. I absolutely fell in love with the illustrations in this book, and this story about family and love and support is guaranteed to melt your heart. Feed Your Mind by Jen Bryant and Kennedy Chapman is the story of August Wilson and how he grew up to be one of the most influential American playwrights. It takes us through his childhood and how he's always had this deep love of language and how he would read everything that he could, from the backs of cereal boxes to signs on the street. And because of the racism that he faced in school, he dropped out and instead spent his days at the public library reading and learning independently. He would, walk the streets and spend his days in cafes and eateries observing the world around him, and he used that as inspiration for the stories and poems and eventually the plays that he went on to write. This book, like his plays, is told in 2 acts and is absolutely stunningly illustrated, making the story come alive on every page. Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History by Vashti Harrison features 40 Black women, from mathematicians, scientists, astronauts, to singers and athletes. It has stories that are necessary, such as Harriet Tubman, who was an abolitionist, scout, spy, and nurse, and was also the first woman to be featured on the front of any American paper currency. It is filled with everyday women who went on to do extraordinary things. Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls, 100 Real-Life Tales of Black Girl Magic is the 4th in the New York Times best-selling series, this one celebrating the lives and triumphs of 100 Black women and girls. Created exclusively by Black, female, and non-binary authors, illustrators, and editors, this book has it all. From Beverly Lorraine Green, the first licensed Black female architect, to Gabby Douglas, a gymnast, to Ibtihaj Muhammad, a fencer who went on to compete in the Olympics. And that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of all the incredible people that this book has, all of them phenomenally illustrated. I'm also absolutely obsessed with this cover, from the purple to the texture. The Beautiful Struggle by Ta-Nehisi Coates is his memoir adapted for young adult readers, and it's a gripping coming-of-age story that lays bare the troubled and often violent life of the inner city and the author's experience as a young Black person in it, and how in many ways it forced him to grow up too soon. It talks about his family, which consisted of 7 siblings, 4 mothers, and 1 highly unconventional father, who was a Vietnam vet and a Black Panther. And it says beautifully in the book that this is all a mess on paper, but it was all love to me and formed my earliest and still enduring definitions of family. This book also, specifically focuses on his relationship with his father and how they both struggled to understand each other and communicate with each other as the author grew from a boy to a man. The Talk, Conversations About Race, Love and Truth is an anthology by 30 diverse authors and illustrators featuring 30 diverse conversations about systemic racism. All of these authors and illustrators have used widely different styles, from letters, lists, poems, and essays to illustrations done in watercolor, ink, acrylic, and comic frames. There's nothing that I can say that the book doesn't say better itself, so I will just read you a line from the introduction. The talks offered in this anthology are real conversations that embrace honest ways of thinking that help expand ourselves and others in a complex and diverse society. This is a necessary book that readers of all ages should pick up. Liked what you saw and heard? Want to buy any of these? Log on to www.eurekabookstore.com and place your order now. Also, follow us on Instagram for a daily feed of books. If you happen to live in Delhi or are just visiting, please drop by at M75 M Block Market, Greater Kailash Part 2. Our team will be more than happy to help you choose books. In the comments down below, please let us know what you liked or didn't, and if you have any suggestions for what else you would like to see, please let us know.